The Drowned Palette, Secrets in the Salt and Stone. Chapter 1. The House That Listened. The ferry shuddered once before kissing the pier, and the sound carried up through Anna Caldwell's shoes like a pulse. She stepped onto the dock into air that smelled of salt, paint, and secrets. Martha's Vineyard, July 1926. A summer that should have been gentle. Even the gulls seemed uneasy. She hired a boy with a cart for her single leather case and climbed the bluff road where the sea glittered between elms like broken glass. The boy pointed. "Up there, miss. Ashford House. Says the lady pays extra if you don't look too long at the windows." He grinned, not sure why he'd said it. Ashford House rose from the hill like a ship run aground. Cedar shingles had faded to pewter, the veranda leaned into the wind, and salt had etched lacework into the railings. Honor paused at the gate. Even the hinges breathed, a long exhale of rust. Eleanor Ashford herself opened the door, storm cape caught in a draft, smile precise as porcelain. "Miss Caldwell, I'm so pleased you've come. The others are already creating." Her vowels were cut crystal, her eyes the same color as old pewter. Inside, beeswax and turpentine wrestled for dominance. The corridors were narrow, the ceilings high, the air humming faintly, as if the house was waiting for applause it no longer earned. Under a stained-glass skylight, the studio glowed coral and blue. Half a dozen easels stood like soldiers. Jars of pigment caught the light like tiny harbors. A gramophone murmured a foxtrot. Eleanor introduced each guest with a curator's flair. Caspar Wilder, compact, sun-creased, and a voice that could paint tides by sound alone. He gave Honor a quick, knowing look. He said, "Our hostess promised us seclusion, but not surveillance." "Only enough to keep us safe," Eleanor replied sweetly. Honor filed that tone away. Affection polished over warning. Theo Marlowe, Wilder's protégé, stood beside a half-finished seascape. He looked 25 and already burned out. Paint stained his cuffs, and one knuckle bled where he'd chewed the skin. He muttered to Honor, "If he paints one more wave, I'll drown him myself." Then, realizing how that sounded, laughed too loudly. Lila Hartwell, pearls and perfume, swept in with color on her lips, the exact shade of defiance. "Don't mind Theo. He's allergic to genius." Honor recognized the scent of rivalry more than perfume. Mina Kovaleks, small and deliberate, bent over a watercolor that looked half-evaporated. Her accent curled each word. "Light is memory," she said softly when Honor admired it. "It fades the truth last." Captain Amos Pike, the caretaker, entered carrying a coil of rope and the smell of diesel. "Generator's coughing again," he told Eleanor. "Needs a new belt." "After dinner, Captain," she said, already bored of practicality. He grunted something about tides that bite. Last came Constable Silas Mayhew, hat in hand. "Evening, Miss Ashford. Heard the famous painter was among us." Wilder chuckled, not famous enough to afford Boston rent. Laughter rippled, thin, brittle. Honor watched faces instead of words. Theo's jaw tightened every time Wilder spoke. Lila's smile froze whenever Eleanor touched Wilder's arm. Mina flinched when thunder rolled somewhere long off, as if expecting boots behind it. Every one of them carried a tremor. Against the far wall, Wilder's newest piece dominated the room, a watercolor of the cove beneath the house. Moon low, iron seagate half open, 7 gulls looping over like pieces of a code. He caught Honor studying it. "You like puzzles, Miss Caldwell?"
I like patterns. They tell you where someone started lying. He laughed. Then don't look too closely at art. Eleanor crossed between them, cool fingers on his sleeve. Caspar, be kind. Not every guest needs your philosophy. Her smile lingered a moment too long. That evening at dinner, they dined beneath a portrait of Eleanor's late husband, a man painted larger than life and several shades kinder. Wine disguised as tea flowed freely, conversation shifted like current around rocks. Wilder baited Theo about unfinished work. Theo snapped, "Maybe I prefer painting something real." Eleanor soothed, "Art is reality perfected." Lila laughed, sharp, brittle. "Then we're all liars, aren't we?" Only Mina kept silent, fingers tracing condensation on her glass like a code. Captain Amos cleared dishes with a clatter. "Storm coming tomorrow." "Always storms with you, Captain," Eleanor said. He didn't answer. Honor noticed the captain's eyes flicked toward the window, toward the black mouth of the cove. After dinner, music and cigarette smoke filled the studio. Wilder painted even as he talked. His brush moved like a man trying to outrun thought. Theo sulked by the gramophone. Lila hovered near Mayhew, who pretended indifference and failed. Eleanor circulated, smile practiced, voice smooth. Honor drifted to the veranda. Below, the tide struck rock like slow applause. Pearl, the maid, appeared beside her. "You'll hear her groan at night," she whispered. "The house?" she said. "The sea gate. It's chained half open, never shuts, never stays. Captain says she's alive." Then she vanished back inside. At 11:45, the generator coughed once, twice, then died. Music snapped off mid-note. The room fell into breathless dark. Someone laughed, high, nervous. Glass broke. A chair scraped. Honor heard Eleanor's calm voice. "Pearl, fetch my shawl. Captain, the belt, quickly." Then a door opened. Fog rolled in, thick as wool. For 30 long seconds, only the sea spoke. When the light stuttered back, paint gleamed wet on canvases, faces blinked in confusion. But Wilder was no longer at his easel. On the floor lay his smoldering cigarette. Near the veranda door, a faint trail of wet footprints curved toward the night. Theo's voice cracked first. "Where's Caspar?" No one answered. Down below, faint through the fog, came the slow clang of metal, like a gate closing against the tide. Honor felt the hair rise on her arms. The house had exhaled, and something or someone had gone with it. When the lights returned, Caspar Wilder was gone. No one saw him leave, and yet something else stayed behind. A cigarette ember cooling by the door, a single chair out of place, and the faint scent of the sea inside the house. Honor Caldwell doesn't believe in coincidences. She believes in cause and effect, in reason, in evidence that hides in plain sight. And as the tide creeps closer to midnight, something beneath Ashford House begins to move. Was it the sea that took Caspar Wilder, or someone standing right beside him? Stay tuned for Chapter 2, The Sea Returns What It Takes.